Hello, my name is Regina Christensen. I work for the Taupo Native Plant Nursery as a propagator for Philip Smith, and my particular interests are in native orchids, vegetative propagation techniques, and anything that's pretty, smells good or has interesting uses. Today I'm interviewing Bill Robinson and Walter Millar. Bill to my right, his career started at the Wellington Botanic Gardens. He worked for Duncan and Davies, for the Department of Conservation, and for the Taupo Native Plant Nursery. In 1970 he started the Thermal Gardens, which was for 17 years the most successful plant nursery in New Zealand. After that he started the Tikiteri Gardens in nursery. That's where we are today, and it's really worth having a look at, especially when all the magnolias are flowering and the rhododendrons. And if you ever have wondered why Wellington has such a big collection of magnolias, it's because Bill has donated them all. To my left is Walter Millar. He started...
Charming. Charming.
He started his career at Harrison's doing an apprenticeship. He worked for the Rotorua Council as Parks Operations Manager, and after that he worked for Bill as a propagator. Together, Bill and Walter have traveled a lot, collecting plants, buying cultivars from overseas and bringing them to New Zealand. Now, my first question is to Bill. When did your career start as a plant collector and grower?
16th of January 1957.
It's very exact.
I know, because when I went to work, they didn't know I was coming. It was a typical city council disaster that I found city councils do all over the country. Too much red tape. I got the job, but they didn't know I was coming.
Oh no.
I was told to report on the 16th of January 1957. However,
and that was at the Botanic Gardens in Wellington?
Yeah. No communication whatsoever. Don't think much changed either.
And it was as working at the Botanic Gardens as a apprentice
yeah.
in the propagation unit, or
no, general.
General?
Yeah. New Zealand was short of labour in those days, and they used to send the English out on a ship called Captain Cook, and it was a white ship with black funnels, and it used to get in the harbour, and then they'd send these guys up. I got £2.16 an hour a week, and they'd send these no trains at all, but they needed the labour, so they were off farms and off factories, and they're getting £4 and £5 an hour, and
wow.
It was a sore point, and it still is. Nothing's changed.
Oh. Okay, what about you, Walter? When did your passion for plants start?
Well, I suppose you could say right from an early age as a kid, with my uncles. They were all berry fruit growers, and I used to go down in the school holidays and work for them, and so basically it developed from there. And also in the school holidays I used to go down to Ettrick and spend time at what we call the seed farm there. They were people that grew bulbs, tulips and gladioli, and so I worked for them for a number of holidays as well. And then of course after that developed into the horticultural field that we were in now.
Oh yeah.
So I started my apprenticeship with R.E. Harrison and Company in 1st of February 1960 was the
wow.
day. So there you are.
Cool.
Bits and pieces.
Now at several nurseries, everybody talks about it. What do you reckon made it so successful?
Well, anyone could be successful in those days. You could actually sell dead plants. It was amazing. You could sell anything. Up to the share market crash, you could actually sell anything. and you couldn't cope getting the stock in. You couldn't get in quick enough. And it was just an era of our time when gardening was number one.
Yeah.
You've got to remember that garden centres, like us at Thermal Nurseries, were the only other place that was open was dairies on the weekends.
Oh,
There was no one else. So you had it to yourself. And a lot of people forget that today when the competition is a lot tougher.
But you had people travelling from all over the place to you.
Yeah, they do, because we specialise in different plants. And we took risks and probably never made any money, but the staff did all right. Yeah, we took risks that we imported plants, and that draws quite a wide range of customers, especially rhododendrons, which were the number one plant in those days.
Oh, yeah.
People collected them like you click stamps.
True.
Yeah.
What other species did you import?
Mostly
Peonies.
woodland plants.
Peonies?
Is that what?
Peonies.
Oh, peonies. We bought in tree peonies at 120 quid a pop from a nursery in the States, and all bits and pieces. Hostas, another thing we bought in. Rhododendrons, hostas, and irises. We put in a whole swag of irises. Particularly fond of Sibericans. We didn't actually import any magnolias, but we had access to someone else's importing. We quarantined some for a guy in Auckland.
Oh, okay. It was always your job you brought back those species and then you had to propagate them. How did you, there must have been challenging species. How did you manage to propagate them all?
Oh, we didn't manage to propagate them all, but we endeavoured to do what we could.
Yeah.
So, because, when you're getting the material in, it's not always easy at that time of the year for your propagation, as you're well aware. Different plants have their seasons to be propagated at, But we didn't do too bad.
What techniques did you use?
Um,
Cuttings or grafting?
Just cuttings and grafts
Oh,
were the main ones. Probably grafts would be the ultimate. Yes.
What did you craft them as seedlings or when they were mature plants, or how did you?
No, we would graft them from the material that came in. We would actually graft onto young stock.
Ah, I see. And then from that you would propagate.
Yes, yeah.
Once you had an established plant.
Once it was established, you could do what you like.
So what you brought in was usually just a cutting, or was it a
No, it was
plant?
usually plants, wasn't it?
Okay.
Usually
Yeah.
plants that Bill brought in.
We grafted onto Elliot.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
particularly with the rhododendrons.
Yeah. Like rhododendrons keep popping up. Why is it that rhododendrons connect you?
Well,
Like, what's
I think we both could answer that,
Yeah.
but really, we just love rhododendrons. We live in an area where we have acid soils, very acid soils, and we don't need to apply acid manure or acid fertiliser for them to grow. They just grow,
yeah.
and it's just an environment here that they do very, very well. And of course, once you get hooked, then you've got to have them all.
So it's kind of a combination of a suitable environment and then just the fact that they're pretty.
Well,
Yeah.
they're better
They're
than
special.
natives, let's hand it. I mean, this country's they've got a thing on natives. I mean, hell's teeth, they're okay. I mean, if you had a strip of native plants 20 metres wide from Auckland to Wellington, no one would mind if you cut down a beech tree. It's just, people need a bit of education. And it's all back to culture. Our culture's Europe, so we're planting European plants, right, in Himalaya. Stuff them.
Stuff the natives.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Okay. Bill, what do you reckon about horticulture today, with like the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry being involved, and tissue culture and PVRs? Do you reckon it changed it?
The nursery industry in this country is completely stuffed. if you really want the truth. I can give you plenty of examples. It's been poorly run, and they pay poor wages, and they'll never get the wages back to where they should be. I've got an ex-apprentice of mine who is working in the camera car at $30 an hour. I've just heard of a young guy that worked in New Plymouth at 3 different nurseries to get his skills. Hell of a nice kid, happy-go-lucky, do anything for you. One of the best skilled butters, grafters you can get. Came out of his apprenticeship and he was offered $16 an hour. He is now working in a factory now at $25 an hour. So the industry is stuffed. I'll tell you what, when Trevor Davies left Duncan and Davies, the nursery industry started to go downhill. We were paying $16 for wholesale price of magnolias. This year, one guy's selling them just as good for $10. Our industry is stuffed.
Do you reckon it's because of the imports from overseas?
No, it's not imports. It's people with psychological problems running it. If you really want to know. It is. And now the box stores have started and having billion-dollar turnovers, so they're using the garden centres as draw cards, so they've got a pathetic little markup on it, and they'll never do it as a draw, and they'll never ever get the prices up like they should. There's been some movement on trees because the box stores don't touch them because they don't turn over fast enough. Every year we find that we're selling less varieties and sticking to our main 5.
Oh yeah.
And the one that we have no competition with is hostas, because they're now bringing them in from China and tissue culture, and that's completely stuffing the market. But they don't care. It's all money, money, money.
So what are those main 5 that you're selling?
Hostas, irises, magnolias, rhododendrons. What's the other one, Walter? Woodland plants. Yeah, stuff that's different, you know. And we were the ones that took risks. Some of the things we imported were a financial disaster. We bought plants in once when the New Zealand dollar was 39 cents. And you'll never ever get your money back on plants if you are just selling them retail. You need to be a wholesaler and distribute them right across the country. But the supermarkets, who are now the biggest buyers of the easy to sell stuff, they want a nice coloured label. They want you to virtually go in there and sell it for them. I mean, they should never have plants. Full stop.
That's true, because they don't have the knowledge to sell
No,
them, really.
but they don't care. It's all money, money, money. And you've got to live. You've got to have money to live. But they've stuffed the market. And when they're trying to get this levy on planter bags and that, so they can improve the industry, it's too late, mate. They only improve it for the box stores. They will not improve it for general garden centres. But in saying that, some owner-operator garden centres haven't got the guts anymore to take risks. And that's what we did at Therm. We took risks all the time, and we didn't always pay off, but it paid off enough to be worth it.
Yeah. Now, my last question is, do you have any advice for young propagators and plant growers today?
Unfortunately, the truth of the matter is, don't go into horticulture.
Oh,
it's a mugs game. At the moment, it is the biggest mugs game in the country. So that's my advice, because the skill that you need most is grafting, budding, and that sort of thing, but there's not a lot of market for them. And when they do sell it, they drop the price.
Yeah.
Right? Years ago, people say they won't pay. The garden centres and the wholesalers, who are mentally disturbed, some of them, say that years ago, they say everything's too dear. We must keep it low, the price low, so we can sell it. Well, we're not in the ice cream business. We're not selling lollies to kids. We're selling plants. Okay.
You have them for a long time.
So years ago, the wedding cake tree was introduced into New Zealand, and we and John Kenyon and Tauranga were offered the sole plants, and they were retailed at $50 each, which was an enormous price. In the 2 years between us, we sold 2,000 plants at $50 each.
Wow.
So that So that's what I say. They're mentally retarded, a lot of people out there. It's the industry we're in. There you go, Betty.
What about you? Any advice for young people, or anything that you wish you would have been told 20 or 30 years ago?
No, not really. As Bill said, you know, the industry has changed over the years. You need a complete look, you know, turnover really, because yeah, it's changed so much. You know, you've got to have that training, and unless you get a good, solid training, then you know you're going nowhere.
Yeah.
The most successful nurseries in the future will be grower retailers.
Okay.
Like yours.
Yeah.
You're a grower retailer.
So grow it and sell it. That might be the way to go in the future.
Yep.
Okay. I think we can finish on that note.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's some nurseries in New Zealand should have the pirates flag flying.
Okay. So become a grower retailer and you'll be safe in the future.